Like if
Yeah.
you was looking towards the end of last year, look, he was dragging his feet.
Right.
Like he didn't really want to play. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't following the ball too much no more. But it's crazy though, man. Like how much of that you think is like he finally realizes Tom Brady gone? He's like, oh, you retired for good, and man, I ain't playing with no
Right.
Baker Mayfield. Scratch that.
Bro, yeah, right. Honestly, if I'm Belichick, why not just give up your first round pick for that?
I mean, true. I mean, I would for a lot of teams. Why not?
Like I'd give up.
Like
You can't
I
give
even
up a top
considered it.
10 pick, but like pick 15, I'd give that up. Green Bay give up pick 15, go get Devin White.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends how you view the linebacker position. But I mean, it's an impact player when you're in
Right.
this game. So, hey, I take it. I take it in
Like
Dallas. Hey, like, I thought about it today. I'm like, what it take? Me
I
and Chris
say
was in
like
there having a conversation. He was talking about the Raiders. He was like, bro, we need that. I'm like, shit, we kind of need that too. Like,
I think for Dallas, like you give up the first round pick, but then you got to pay him, and I don't want to pay him. But like for the Raiders, y'all should have had him in the first place.
true.
You know what I mean?
That
So
was
like,
what was the Cleveland Farrell draft?
yeah. So why not go make that move?
True.
I don't know. But
Man,
no, look,
time passes. I would just say time passes. I didn't realize he was up for contract already coming up in this
right.
upcoming year. So it's crazy.
But it does kind of make sense too, since Cleveland's on a new team.
Oh
That's
yeah, they
weird
didn't pick
though.
up his option for sure.
But looking at this year's draft, man, you know, usually it's pretty close to 50-50 offense and defense. And for example, like the 2018 draft, we had 17 offensive players and 15 defensive in the first round. And that draft, you had 4 quarterbacks go in the top 10 and only 2 guys in the front 7 go in the top 10. I think it was Roquan Smith and Bradley Chubb. I might be wrong about that. But I know Denzel Ward went like 4th overall that year. So I guess that draft is different from this one because we are expecting, probably 4-5 quarterbacks in the first round, which will push some of these defensive players down. But the more I think about it, I think that maybe Anthony Richardson could get hit with some of that like Malik Willis treatment. Like we just are expecting him to go in the first round, but there's a chance he doesn't go till day 2.
I think he's going 3rd, bro. I really do.
You do?
I think between Tennessee and Las Vegas, I just think one of these teams is going up to 3. I mean, if you're listening to it, like the Cardinals is taking multiple calls right now. A lot of teams is trying to get up to 3. I mean, is that for Will Anderson or is it for a quarterback? And I'm willing to bet a few teams are trying to get that to get the 3rd quarterback taken. Is that Will Levis or you think it's Anthony Richardson? I think teams prefer the upside of Richardson, so I don't know.
I don't know. I think there's a strong chance, like that buzz started up with him, but I don't feel like this is the draft to try to be making those moves for a quarterback. I really don't. I think that I would be a lot more comfortable with him going day 2 compared to a team taking him day 1, especially in the top 10. Because if you go in the top 10, you got expectations on you.
That's true. But I mean, certain teams, like if he goes to Tennessee, you kind of look at it like, dang, like how is that going to play out? You know what I mean? Is he going to we like you just mentioned Malik Willis, like will it play out that way? But if he goes to Las Vegas Raiders, I feel like it's a perfect situation. You got Jimmy G, you got multiple guys over there that could teach him the ropes. I don't think he'll be starting day 1. You know what I mean? I think it'll take time, and like if it's a situation like that, it makes sense. I don't see him dropping all over to day 2 though. I'm gonna be honest. It's no way that 31 teams in the first round passable. I mean, hey, we've seen strange things happen though. A lot of people get in that green room and the camera pan on them for a while and it happens though. But
I don't know. I guess I just like not to get too hung up on Richardson. I just like I see the athleticism there, but like as far as like arm talent, I don't see the, like consistency. I don't really see it there. So I do think it would be he's not a day 1 starter like you hinted at. So the Raiders do make sense. I mean, you get him in there because I do think he's at least a year away from being a year away. So you get him in there and sit behind Jimmy G. Jimmy G's the ultimate mentor. Something like that.
But I do think there's a possibility that 4 quarterbacks go in the top 10. You know what I mean? If one drop, I thought Will Levis possibly could drop. I don't know. Something about Tampa Bay. Me sitting there, I was just wondering like how many teams need a quarterback. Obviously, like after that, the first 2 picks, everything after that is a crapshoot. But You know what I mean? I think it's a strong defensive draft, especially for cornerbacks.
Right.
I like the cornerbacks and I like the linemen, and as we know, the trenches is always where it's at, man. You got some premier players at the top. You got Will Anderson, Nolan Smith. He's an interesting character though. Like, how far do you think Nolan Smith can drop? Do you think it's like top 10, or do you think he can drop?
I guess it really depends on where you're planning to use him. Like, are you planning to use him on the edge or as an on-ball linebacker? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of depends
Yeah.
on how he fits your system, I guess. Like, for example, with Micah, they were viewing him as a linebacker coming out, but I mean, he's really just an on-ball linebacker at the end of the day. So it kind of depends. I think for sure Nolan Smith should go in the first round. Like, that does make a lot of sense. I mean, I'll take him at pick 26.
Yeah, I
all
mean,
day.
if it's one thing, we know the pass. Obviously, I think as far as the pass rush, I don't see him coming to the league as a linebacker,
Right.
which makes me think, like, if you think about it, he's probably the best edge rusher in the draft. Obviously, he didn't play a lot for different reasons or whatnot, but I think natural talent wise, I think the upside is there, higher than the other guys, of course, man. So, but when you look at it, Miles Murphy, we hearing him, he's all over the place, ranged. I do like Will McDonald. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that position, if you're really attacking that, I just think it's a lot of guys that you kind of throw your hat on right there, man. So, is anybody that's standing out to you as far as the defensive ends and, anybody in the trenches this year?
No, I really love Lucas Van Ness, but I don't see a path where he's going to make our way to us. I think the closest comparison that we would have to like this draft would be the 2021 draft with Micah and them boys. So in that year, it was 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, which is kind of what we're expecting, like
I
4 to
think so.
5 quarterbacks. 8 guys that were front 7 guys went in the first round as well. Some of those names include like Greg Russo, Micah Parsons, like you said, the corners. That's very comparable because we had J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain go back to back in the first round that year. So like the defensive draft does kind of remind me of that 21 draft. Now we don't have a Jamar Chase at wide receiver, so that's a little different as well. Penei Sewell, like we don't
Yeah.
have those guys coming out. But the defensive side of the ball, man, I do think we could see a draft this year with probably like 12 to 15 guys going in the first round compared to like, 17, 18.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think it's deep on the defensive side. Like, I was looking at the cornerbacks, bro, and you know, you referenced that 21 draft with Pastor Tan and all those guys, but
Right.
that same year, well, I would have to go back to the CD Lamb draft. You had Trayvon Diggs, and it was just a deep draft. AJ Terrell, and a lot of players that came out. But I'm looking at it like Christian Gonzalez. Like, I think he's a phenomenal corner, big boy. He's a beast. Um, Also, Devin Witherspoon. He's also,
Mm,
a rangy cornerback, man, small, do it all guy. Just all over the place. We I like Deonte Banks personally.
right.
So just looking at it, I think, man, for real, it could be up to like 5 cornerbacks taking this first round. So if you think about that, you added that with the lineman that's coming out. I don't really know if it's too many interior defensive linemen that could be coming out in the first round, maybe besides Amazi Smith or Clancy. But I think DN is heavy, and I think cornerback is also heavy this year.
To keep reflecting on the 21 draft, remember, like most people had Christian Barmore going in the first round of that draft, and that's a guy that slipped to day 2, So
Yeah.
even these DTs like that we see, like not Van Ness, I do expect him to go in the first round, but the boy from Michigan, the DT that you
Oh, Mazi Smith, big boy.
like there's a chance he
Yeah,
falls to day 2. You know what I mean?
true.
Like anything is possible. So, and then Banks, is that the boy from Maryland or Illinois?
Maryland.
Maryland, yeah, I do like him. Safety wise, there's really nothing like. There's no Kyle Hamilton. No, like
Besides Deontay Branch, I think he'll be the only one in day one. I mean,
right,
I think as far as the safety position, I think it's more so a day 2. I think it's a deep pool after day 1. You know what I mean? I think it's a lot of
sure.
guys you can go in there and get. But as far as like just getting an impact player in the first round that you kind of safe with, I think Deion Branch probably would be the only guy. You know what I mean?
Okay, so who do you think? Okay, talking like Will Anderson. I'm not sorry, Will Anderson, Nolan Smith, and let's say Jalen Carter. Do you expect out of that group of guys, all three of them to be scooped up day one?
Oh yeah, just because I mean, if you look at it, it's not too many impact players, and I think the three guys you just named, I think impact. You know what I mean? Luke Van
Right,
Ness is interesting because he's a case of I'm just wondering where he'll go and what type of way a team will employ him, how it'll be used. You know what I mean? Like, will he be in that type of JJ Watt role or, you know what I mean, one of these 3-4 defense ends? You know what I mean? I don't know how they'll use him, but I think all three players have a chance to be great players, especially Jalen Carter. Um, you know what I mean? Long as he keeps everything off the field, the non-football stuff out the way, I think he's
right,
going to be a beast. And Nolan Smith, you know how I feel about him. You know what I
right.
mean? The athleticism, you know what I mean? It's not too many guys in the league that's running what he's running. What was it, like a 4.4? You know what I
It
mean?
was something crazy.
Yeah, that size. I mean, you know what I mean? You get a guy like that on the edge chasing after quarterbacks. I think he has all the tools, you know what I mean? He's just going to have to, you know what I mean, get the offseason
Right.
peanut butter, you know what I mean, getting away room a little bit. But I think from day one, I think he's going to flash. I truly do.
See, and with those, well, I'll call them the big three, the three that we mentioned, those guys I do think will be three down players. Like that's not going to be like rotational pieces. Whereas
Right.
I do think Van Ness, at least in his early years, will probably be more of a rotational piece, like third down pass rush, or he might come in for first and second, and then you bring in fresh legs for the pass rush on third down. But I don't see him as a three down player right away. Similar to Karlaftis, he wasn't ready to be a three down player
Right,
just
right.
yet, and we saw that last
Situational
season.
pass rush. That's okay.
Exactly.
That's a nice way to, you know what I mean, leave the training wheels on just for a little bit and, you know what I mean, put him in a different situations. And then year two, you just release him, man. Like we know about Sam Williams. I think he's, you know what I mean, he's a prime example of a guy that we put him in. He got pressures, he got sacks, and I think he'll be ready for a full-on role going into the next year, man. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, see, and even with Sam Williams, I feel like he is a three down player, but with the depth that we have, it didn't really make sense to burn up his juice. Like
True.
pretty much that rotation we ran, there was always fresh legs on the field, and I'm sure he probably would have liked more playing time, but going into his second year, a little more experience under his belt, probably put on a little more size. Like we should see more of Sam Williams coming up.
I think so, man. But like it's a lot of guys that, you know what I mean, we don't really know how they're gonna pan out, but it's guys with strong traits like you know, Will McDonald, man. He just may be the best pass rush in this draft, you know what I mean, when we talking about this thing from 2-3 years from now. You
Right.
know what I mean? And like Clancy, another guy that's in the inside. He's a smaller guy, but I'm struggling to feel like where he's gonna go and where he's gonna fall. Like part of me feel like he's gonna drop. You know what I mean? But then, you know what I mean, I just feel like a guy like that is disruptive no matter the size, you know what I mean? He just goes to the right team, man. And then, you know, Brian Breesy as well. You know what I mean? Obviously the injury, we don't know what type of player he'll come back, but he could fairly well come back and be, you know what I mean, maybe the best DT in this draft. So it's a lot of questions. But you know, along the trenches, I think it's a lot of guys you could throw your hat on, you know what I mean? And we don't know
Right.
how that's gonna fall out. But as far as first DT off the board, I think it's Jalen Carter. I mean, obviously, Will Anderson, whether you view him as a linebacker or defense end, I think he's gone. You know what I mean? Whether it's three, if three is if three is a quarterback, he's going four for sure. And if it's not him at four, then it's him at three. That's how I felt about it. But I don't
Right.
think Jalen Carter slides at all. Honestly,
No, I
I don't think
don't.
he get past Philly at all.
I don't. I think like talent wise, and if you had to just go off of like ranking players without it being positional or off the field, I mean Jalen Carter's the best player in this draft. And then second would probably be Bijan Robinson.
Right.
So, put the pieces where they fall. Because I probably wouldn't even put one of these quarterbacks up there until like 6 or 7, even.
Nah.
Like talent wise, it's not. But I mean, the inflation on quarterbacks is always there. So obviously they'll go early. I mean, you don't trade up to the number one overall pick to not take a quarterback.
Yeah, that's your guy. I mean, you see a guy you like, you go get your guy. So I mean, like we always talked about, that's the only position you could do that with.
Right.
But then like safety, like you said, it's not really a guy out there. If you want to take a chance on the safety, if he's not coming in and being you know, your Jamal, well, that's a perfect example. I'm sorry, Jamal Adams. Remember that, like how high he
Mm,
was, but we knew he wasn't that free safety, that sideline to sideline.
right.
But they sold him up so much so well, like he was going to be, you know what I mean, a do it all safety. But you know what I mean, if you don't have those guys that's really like free, that can get sideline to sideline, your Derwin James, it just doesn't make sense. You know, but as far as this draft, I just think that, like I said, the cornerbacks, man. Like I
Yeah.
looked at it and it's a heavy draft, man. The linebackers, I do think it's one guy. I look at him that's a traditional linebacker. I think Jack Campbell. I think he's a beast. Big guy, 6'5", like 249. He's the prototypical linebacker. Some of the other guys, you look at them, they're more so tweeners. Like I look at Drew Sanders. I love Drew Sanders as a prospect. You know what I mean? Especially with the pass rushing upside as he has. But I think he's more of a will than
Yeah.
he'll be a middle linebacker. But you also see Trent Simpson, a guy from Clemson. I think he's a nice linebacker as well. Also has some pass rushing ability. But if
Sure.
you look at, you know what I mean, all throughout the draft, I think there's some guys you can get. I like Deion Henley. I think he's a smaller guy. But, you know, he's a short tackle. You know what I mean? The physical for his size. So there's a lot of guys out there at the linebacker position, but I just don't know if any one of them will go round one, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if we end round one. And that position right there be, you know what I mean, still there.
It does seem like at least last year and this year, there's been a drop off at the linebacker position. Not as far as like as far as off ball linebackers will go. You know, it seems to be some sort of a drop off there. But this season, I know you like Sanders a lot, and that boy from Clemson, you said he's what, like 6'5"? So
yeah, Trent Simpson, yeah, he has the size, man.
so
And he
he's
has
got
a
a little.
sideline ability. So he's a guy I think you can also plug him at middle linebacker. I think he's a traditional type.
So that's similar to like Zaven Collins, who went in the first round as well
Right.
in like 2021. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that. Imagine if we could get a nice 3-down linebacker.
I think it'll be some draft day trades for sure. I don't think we've seen the end of maybe making out to be one of the biggest drafts as far as trades. There's a lot of players that you hear. Like you just talked about your boy Devin White. Still don't know what's going on with DeAndre Hopkins. Like it's a lot of moving pieces, but I think draft night, you know what I mean, it might be a lot of moving pieces as far as the, you know, the trades and things that's happening. I wouldn't be surprised. Just like we got the AJ Brown news last year, like on day one.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at, I guess, with Devin White is like if you're Green Bay and you're sitting there at pick 15 and you think to yourself, like, I need a linebacker, you know, the best linebacker available here is Sanders on our board. Why take him with pick 15 if you can give up pick 15 and go get Devin White, sign him, and then you got a linebacker that you know is good for the next 4 years? You don't have to do the whole development thing. You know, I mean, there's just something there.
That's only if you want a linebacker at 15. Like if that's your biggest position of need and, you know what I mean, it's not out the guy and it makes sense, then yeah, sign me up for it.
Sure. I guess what I'm saying is like if you look at it like, okay, pick 15, BPA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at your board. Are any of those guys that you have listed for BPA better than Devin White? Because if not, then you should probably make that move for Devin White as long as you have the money for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just kind of my thought there.
Yeah, I just don't. I like it's always that one or two names, you know what I mean, it's gonna drop. I'm just wondering, like, you know what I mean, like who will drop and you know what I mean, who will it be, man? I don't know, you know what I mean, for say. But like we could easily be sitting there and it gets late into this thing and like you say, Nolan Smith, he just may be there. So like would you rather take a Devin White or Nolan Smith? You know what I mean? You gotta kind of weigh those things out. But I think he was a hell of a player. I don't know if I would give him a first for him and didn't have to pay that contract though.
Right.
Do you view him as you know what I mean, a top 3 linebacker in the game right now?
Devin White?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Top 3? Okay. So I mean if you're looking at it like that, then top 3 guy, then you know what I mean, you're gonna have to pay him top of the position. So if you're gonna to pay up for it, of course.
And that's kind of I guess what I'm saying is like why take the risk at pick 20 for what you think is BPA? Because I mean, you don't know until they hit the turf on Sunday how good they're going to be, but you already have proof in Devin White, you know.